guys, welcome back to my channel. I know that there's a lot of new people here, so I just want to introduce myself. My name is Lex and I am the owner of PlantLifeLex.com, which is my online houseplant store. In today's video, I wanted to showcase a few plants that I've been loving for the month of December. The first plant that I want to show off is this little tiny Hoya. This is the Hoya Sarawa. I recently actually got a batch of these for the plant store in December, so I figured that I would also take a small cutting for myself, so I did. I took the cutting and then I rooted it in water for a few weeks, and then I placed it directly into my pond mix. And as you can see, it's definitely grown quite a lot since being in the pond now. Right now, all of my Hoyas are either in leca or pond, and they are doing really well. I don't have that many Hoyas, and I usually tend to just keep small Hoyas like this. This one actually does have some new growth coming in the middle here, and a little leaf coming in on its runner. I'm super curious to know how the leaves are going to turn out because the mother plant leaves were actually pretty big, much bigger than this one. So I'm really excited to see how it turns out. I don't have that many Hoyas in my collection, and I tend to keep really small ones, so whenever they grow past a certain point, I usually do cut them. However, for this one, I think I'm just going to let it grow out and eventually pot it up into a bigger vessel with pond and even put a trellis on it, because I really do love how large these leaves get. I just really love how large the leaves are for this Hoya in particular. I do really enjoy large leaf Hoyas, so if you guys do know any large leaf Hoyas that you think I would like, please let me know, because I am wanting to expand my Hoya collection. It's just there are so many out there that I just don't know which ones to really get. Let me know if you guys know any big leaf Hoyas. I would love to check them out. So the next plant that I want to showcase is actually the Cirruses Mirabellas. I am obsessed with this plant, you guys. I definitely have talked about this plant before and how when I first saw it, I was like immediately obsessed with it. It just looks so different than anything I've really seen before, and I'm just in love with how the foliage looks and everything. So this leaf right here is actually the newest leaf that just popped out this month, and this is the older leaf, and then there was one more leaf that did die back. So this plant actually was an import. I imported this from Aroid Asia back in March, and it literally just put out a leaf now. The roots were kind of not in the best condition, so I ended up having to rehab this plant quite a bit, and now finally it is stable enough to put out its own leaf now that it's focused on its roots. And it actually does have a new leaf coming in as well, so I'm really excited about it. As you can see, the roots are looking great. It's even popping out of the bottom, so soon it will need a new pot. But I did just want it to focus on its roots since it was going through a ton of stress being an import and everything like that. From my experience with this plant, it's been very easy care. I have not had any issues with this plant. For me, I treat it the exact same way that I treat all of my other plants. I just water it when it's dry, and it definitely shows you when it's thirsty, so that's how I know when to water it. I do keep this plant in my Rudsta cabinet, which is about like 70% humidity, and it seems to do fine in there. I'm not honestly 100% educated on this type of plant at all. This is the only type that I've ever had, so kind of everything is just trial and error. It's been not fussy at all. It's very easy, and I just love the way that it's looking, and I'm really excited to see how this plant gets as it matures. I haven't really actually seen one at a mature state yet, but I am super excited to see it. So I do know that this plant is gaining a little bit more popularity, especially in Florida greenhouses and things like that. I am actually working with a greenhouse so that I can actually bring these plants to my shop. So if you are looking for one, definitely look out for it in the next few weeks, because I might actually have it. And I think that they are just a beautiful plant to have in your collection, and it definitely stands out compared to all of my other plants. Definitely check this plant out. It's very unique and I love it so much. So I'm super excited to see what this plant brings in the future. The next plant that I want to show off is this Philodendron White Princess that I have. I've actually never really talked about this plant because I honestly wasn't really that impressed with it. So I did get this plant a few months ago at an Ecuagenera pop-up event. This one in particular was not an import. It was actually one of the plants that come from their Florida greenhouse, so it was already established, everything like that, and it was on sale, so I figured why not. The biggest reason that I chose this plant was because it's actually two plants in one, and the way that it's growing, it has so many growth points that it'll just be really easy to propagate. So I have been letting it grow out for a few months just to see what it's been doing, and it has produced quite a bit of new leaves now. The variegation on this plant, I would definitely consider it to be like low or like low medium, not necessarily the type of variegation that I'm interested in. I am looking for a white princess that does have high variegation, and even the white princess that does have the pink in it. So that is definitely something that I am looking for, but overall I am pretty pleased with how this plant is looking, and the variegation is getting a little bit better now that it's been growing out. In particular, this leaf right here is coming out. I can tell it's going to be almost a half moon, so I'm actually really excited for that. It doesn't have that much white on the rest of the leaves, so that's pretty impressive to see that. So I'm really excited to see how it goes. So for sure, I'm going to be separating this plant into 2 plants and probably taking some cuttings of it soon. I definitely want to chop this plant because I'm curious to see how the variegation will continue. And sometimes chopping the plant can help with the variegation. So that's something that I definitely am going to be doing soon. And out of the white princess, the white knight, and the white wizard, I definitely still do like the white wizard more. I love the one that I have in my collection in particular. The white princess definitely comes in second for me, and then the white knight is definitely last. I really just haven't found a white knight that I really like. So I definitely enjoy having the white princess and the white wizard in my collection. Lately, I've been keeping this plant in my Redstock cabinet as well, which is 70% humidity, and it has been doing pretty good. It's very easy care, a typical philodendron. I just water it when it's dry, and that's really it, and I kind of just forget about it. So I think it's really pretty, and I definitely think it is a wonderful plant to have in your collection. It's beautiful and it's easy care. The next plant that I've absolutely been loving for the month of December is my Anthurium Clariinvium. I am obsessed with this plant. Like, it is so pretty. Like, it's the perfect heart-shaped Anthurium. It's super easy care. I haven't really dealt with any crispiness, anything like that. This right here is the newest leaf that is still growing, and look how cute and perfect it is. It is just the most adorable plant. I love it. This plant has actually been super easy to care for. Like I said, I haven't dealt with any crispiness. However, I do keep this in high humidity in my Millsboro cabinet, which is about 90 to 100% daily. So that could be a factor. I haven't really kept this plant outside of there yet, but it is definitely getting a little bit tall. So it might have to transition out of there into here, which this area, if you're new here, this is my shop greenhouse where I keep all the shop plants, and I do keep some of my larger plants in here as well that don't fit in my Ikea cabinet. So yes, this plant might have to come out in here eventually, but for now it is living in the Millsboro. I actually got this plant at an Ecuagenera pop-up event as well. It was the last one that I went to. I'll put the video up here so that you can go and check it out. I remember seeing a few of these there, and this one really stood out to me because it was in really good shape compared to the rest of them, and it was the last day, so of course it was on the discount, so I couldn't say no to it, and I'm really happy that I decided to get it. Since this one in particular is very, very tall, I actually potted it in this tall pot that I have here. I do sell this pot on my website. It's a 5.5-inch pot, and it's really long compared to the typical pots, so it's very ideal for tall anthuriums or tall philodendrons that are like top heavy. It's been doing super well in here, and it has some slots on the side that increase the airflow as well. But yes, you guys, this plant is gorgeous. It is perfect, and I'm so happy that I actually decided to get it because it is just beautiful and I love it so much. The next plant that I want to showcase is this Philodendron Gloriosum. You guys, I'm totally obsessed with this plant as of lately because finally all the leaves are facing the same direction. This plant is kind of big. It's in a 5-inch pot. This plant was an import, and I ended up having to cut it completely down to a chunk because it completely died back. This plant is getting quite big now, and it does live in this greenhouse, and it's been facing the window. So now all of the leaves are facing the same direction, which is awesome because before they were kind of just spread out and all over the place, and it made me not like the plant because it was just too crazy. But I'm really loving how it looks now. It's quite beautiful. So this plant in particular also was an import. It was imported from Ecuagenera. I did pick it up in person at one of their events, but it was an import from Ecuador. It was just 2 giant leaves with really long stems. It was a very tall plant, and that is something about Ecuagenera. The plants are usually really, really large, and that's something that I just don't like. Anyway, the leaves ended up dying back, and then it died back all the way to a chunk, so I ended up just chopping it into multiple chunks, and then I grew them out. It did take a little while to grow back, but when it did, it grew back beautifully. I've actually chopped this plant about twice and sold cuttings of it already, so even through all of that, it's been super resilient, and I'm just so happy that I have this this plant. It definitely gives that jungle vibe. If you're trying to fill a space or something like that, it definitely takes up a lot of space. Considering this plant is a crawler, it will need to be put into a crawling pot at some point. Plant is crawling this way, so it will continue to grow out this way, so you'll need a rectangular pot at some point. But since I did grow this from a chunk, I just stuck it in here and it's been fine ever since. Just keep that in mind that this plant does take up a lot of space. This leaf right here is actually the newest leaf and it is just so gorgeous. Look at the veining. I'm obsessed with it. And then when it fully hardens off, it turns into this dark green. It's just beautiful. As for care, this plant is very easy to care for. It's very resilient as well. If you're looking for a big philodendron, I highly recommend the Gloriosum. It's gorgeous. It's becoming very affordable as well. And I even do recommend any of the Gloriosum hybrids as well. They grow beautifully. They are also coming down in price too. It's a beautiful plant and it doesn't require a lot of humidity either. It grows well in here in low humidity and it's just such an easy plant. So that is all the plants that I have for my December favorites. As you guys know, I've definitely downsized my own collection quite a bit. So I really don't have that many plants anymore. I've definitely been appreciating a lot of my plants more, especially the ones that I've definitely neglected or I haven't paid a lot of attention to. Having less plants for me has been just a better experience overall. So yes, I've definitely been loving these plants and I've definitely been appreciating them so much more now. Also, let me know in the comments what your favorite plant of December was in your own collection. I'm curious to know. And Happy New Year, everybody. I hope that you guys enjoy your weekend and have a safe weekend, and I will see you guys in my next video on Tuesday. Bye!